tell you, wish I could describe it, but I can't contain it, can't keep it to myself. There aren't enough colors to paint the whole picture, not enough words to ever say what I found. Wonderful and beautiful and glorious and holy, He is merciful and powerful. Who we talking about? That's my King. We declare the glory, give Him all the honor, altogether worthy. Who we talking about? That's my King. There's no one before you. Yes, we will adore you. All of this is for you. Who we talking about? That's my King. Jesus, you're my King. Yeah. Not letting the rocks cry without joining the chorus. There aren't enough notes to make the harmony. It's the song of the angels, song of the ages, song of the earth and heaven's symphony. Wonderful and beautiful and glorious and holy, He is merciful and powerful. Who we talking about? That's my King. We declare the glory, give Him all the honor, altogether worthy. Who we talking about? That's my King. There's no one before you. Yes, we will adore you. All of this is for you. Who we talking about? That's my King.
That's my King, that's my God, that's my shepherd, my protector. That's my King, yeah, that's my rock, that's my anchor.
My defender, that's my King, that's my God, that's my shepherd, my protector. That's my King, that's my rock, that's my anchor, my defender. Who we talking about? That's my King. We declare the glory, give Him all the honor, altogether worthy. Who we talking about? That's my King. We declare the glory, give Him all the honor, altogether worthy. Who we talking about? That's my King. There's no one before you. Yes, we will adore you. All of this is for you. Who we talking about? That's my King. Who we talking about? That's my King. Who we talking about? That's my King. Who we talking about? Who we talking about? That's my King. Who we talking about? That's my King. Who we talking about? That's my King. Who we talking about? Who we talking about? That's my King. Yeah. Welcome. We're so glad to see you this Sunday. Thanks for joining us. Let's continue together in worship.
You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears have cold. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Love has God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. And I am surrounded by the arms of the Father, and I am surrounded by songs of deliverance. We've been liberated from our bondage. We're the sons and the daughters. So let us sing our freedom. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears are drowned in perfect love. You rescued me and I will stand. I am a child of God. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. You drowned my fears in perfect love. You rescued me and I will stand and say, I am a child of God. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. You drowned my fears in perfect love. You rescued me and I will stand and say, I am a child of God. Yes, I am. I am a child of God. I am a child of God. Yes, I am. I am a child of God. Yes, I am a child of God. And I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. And I'm no longer a slave to fear. 'Cause I am a child of God.
You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath.
Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands, great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands, this is my confidence, you've never failed me yet. I know the night won't last, your word will come to pass, and my heart will sing your praise again. Jesus, you're still enough, and keep me within your love, and my heart will sing your praise again. Your promise still stands, great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet. And you've never failed me yet. And I never will forget. No, you've never failed me yet. And I never will forget. Amen, church. Our God is always with us. Our God is always with us. Hey, welcome. I'm so glad you're with us. Thank you for worshiping with us. Please be seated. I have a special guest I'd like to introduce this morning. And in the words of that last song, God's never let us down, right? We're going to talk this morning about some people that probably feel that God is letting them down or has let them down. And last week, if you were here, you remember Jennifer from Foster the City. She's our representative from Foster the City. She was on stage and she gave a short presentation. And she's back this morning to introduce Yasmin from Washoe County Health Human Services. And so please welcome them.
Thank you. Good morning. It's still May, so it's still Foster Care Awareness Month. That's a national celebration. And with us today is Yasmin de Peralta. She is with Washoe County Human Services Agency, and she is in the foster parent recruitment and training department. So she's going to talk to us a little bit about fostering, becoming a foster parent, and the dire need for that in our community at this time. So please welcome her.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. My name is Yasmin de Peralta, and I'm a recruiter with the Washoe County Human Service Agency. I am here today to speak to you about a dire need within our community, and my hope is that we all listen with open ears and open hearts and see if there's a way that we can fulfill and serve. So, what exactly are we? We are part of the initiative called Be the Fam. FAM stands for Foster, Adopt, and Mentor. It's an initiative that was created by the Washoe County Human Service Agency, Foster Care, and Adoption Services. And we believe that every child deserves a loving and caring, as well as a stable home. We do this by connecting children in foster care with families who are able to support and provide these opportunities in order for these children to thrive. So as you heard from Jennifer, we have a dire need within our community. Approximately 3 weeks ago, we had no available foster beds going into the weekend, meaning any child that came into care was not going to a family home. In Washoe County, currently, there are over 600 children in foster care and less than 150 licensed foster homes. So how do we help fulfill this need? Today, I'm going to talk to you about different program areas, starting from our most traditional, which is foster care, all the way to newer ones that you may have not heard of. So again, first is foster care. With foster care, we ask that you need to be at least 21 years of age. You do not need to be a 2-adult household. You can be a single household. And you do not need to own your home. You can rent. We just need a letter from your landlord saying that it's okay for a foster youth to reside in your home. Last thing we want is to put you in a bad position. Additionally, you do not need to be rich. We offer financial reimbursement that is provided to help provide for the cares and needs of these children. Additionally, we have a partnership with the Reno Rodeo Foundation, and they will help us retrieve new items for these children. Sometimes when children enter foster care, they only have the items that they were wearing on their back at the time. With foster care, you do have the ability to set your own parameters regarding the age and gender of the children. So for example, if you're most comfortable with children 0 to 5, that's okay. You just let us know and you can get licensed for that age range. You also have a plethora of support. This is a very unique situation, so we want you to know that there's people here for you as well. With those supports, you have your Spark team. Their entire job is to provide support and retention services. Additionally, you have other foster parents. They're in the same boat as you, so they know what you're feeling and they know how to help. You also have a support group that's ran by our agency, another place to just vent, maybe get ideas about behaviors, things you're seeing within your home. You also have the caseworker. And lastly, you have Foster the City that's here, and they provide a plethora of resources. Lastly, no, you do not have to quit your job. You can apply for childcare subsidy through the Children's Cabinet, and they will help offset that cost. So moving on from foster care, we then have adoption services. If adoption has been something that's been on your heart or your mind, or maybe you just want to know a little bit more about it, you can have an initial intake with our family manager. Our family manager will guide you through the entire process. They'll answer any questions. They'll even help you prep for any upcoming meetings you may have. With being a adoptive placement as well, you would then have access to our adoption-only family newsletter, which highlights the need for permanency, meaning forever homes, for these children in Washoe County. You also receive an adoption subsidy to help provide for the needs of the child, right? So you're not in this alone. And lastly, you have access to post-adopt and pre-adoption support and services. Sometimes we all have good days, sometimes we have bad days, sometimes we just need a little support. That's one way you can get that. Now, if having a child within your home full-time is not something that is an option right now, we have different programs. First, we have our mentor program. Approximately in Washoe County, every year, approximately 20 children age out of foster care with no positive adult relationships. That's where you would come in as a mentor. With being a mentor, again, you have to be at least 21 years of age, and we match you with a foster youth that's going to be between the ages of 12 to 18. Sometimes we have children a little younger. It just depends on the case. We ask that you meet with your foster youth once a week, whether that's phone call, text message, in person, and once a month that you meet with them in person. This is a minimum of a 1-year commitment. We understand that sometimes things just don't work out. Maybe it's not a great match. Just communicate and let us know and see how we can help. Lastly, we have our respite services. So this is for anyone that wants to kind of dip their toes into foster care, or maybe they're only available on the weekends once a month. That's where respite comes in. You're essentially providing babysitting services to our foster families. Maybe parents just need a night on the town, or maybe they have an upcoming medical appointment and they need someone to watch the children. That's where you would step in. Respite can be as short as a few hours to up to 2 weeks at a time. Again, you have the control and you set the parameters around what age and gender you're willing to help with. Now, sometimes working one-on-one with children is just not within the realm, it's not of interest, and that's okay. There's other ways to help as well. So our first is our Wishing Well. So with our Wishing Well, these are monetary donations that are used to fund extracurricular activities and to just help our foster youth have normalcy. Sometimes that means, I want to go to Wild Island. Maybe I just want to go to the mall. We want to be able to allow these children to have those experiences. Additionally, you can stay connected by visiting our website, bethefam.washowcounty.gov. On our website, you'll learn about upcoming events, ways to stay connected, ways to get involved, and you'll also see a profile on there about youth that are needing their forever home. And lastly, we have our FamFest. We are looking for sponsors. So FamFest is our annual awareness event where we create awareness and show support for foster youth and their caregivers within our community. Every contribution makes a difference with this event, and any additional funds that are overflowing, meaning let's say we met our goal, they then go into our Wishing Well. So regardless, you're helping youth within our community. So with that, I want to invite you all to our 3rd annual FamFest. This is a family-free event that's going to take place at the Sparks Marina on August 29th from 5 to 9 p.m. This year's event is going to be a movie night. Again, I don't know what movie we're showing just yet, but just be aware that because we live in Northern Nevada, we know that the weather can be really hot one day, then it can be really cold and windy the next. So depending on what the weather is doing that day, we may or may not show the movie. We just need to make sure that everyone's being safe. But we will have free popcorn, we'll have different vendors. You'll be able to come out and just really show support for our foster youth and let them know you are not alone. We are here, we have your back. So with that, myself and my colleague Brenda, we will be out in the lobby after service to answer any questions. Maybe you know someone that this could resonate with. Come pick up a pamphlet, just talk, introduce yourself, and we can talk about next steps. We like to say that today we are planting the seed. This may not be something for you today, but maybe you know someone that could benefit and would like to help. Spread the information. That's the best way to help us out. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Thank you so much to the church to allow us to come and present. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your Sunday, and let's get back to service. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm going to miss that bumper. Anybody else? I'm into it. I'm into the rhythm, the music. It's good stuff. Hey, Yasmin and Brenda and Jennifer, thank you so much for the work that you do and just for being a presence here this morning. I already know that God was moving and speaking to some people, and it's a way that we can participate in the kingdom. It's a way that we've been invited to help support kids in our community. And so if you're feeling that tug and you're feeling that whisper, I just want to also add my encouragement to just stop by, chat with Yasmin, chat with Brenda, get some answers to maybe what pathway you could step into. So I'm grateful that they're here, and I appreciate them so much. This week, I got a trampoline. I know, yeah. Okay, we can clap for it. It's so great. I've never had a trampoline, and it's one of those things, as a kid, I moved around all the time, and everybody had one but me. And I've always wanted to, stay the night on the trampoline. And that feels cool, right? Have you ever done that? Anybody? Yeah, some of you guys had a real American childhood. And I covet it. So we got a trampoline, and all week I've been telling my kids, we're going to do it. And, this was going to be our night. But it's really windy outside. So anyway, that's cool. That's Reno. So, but I did take a nap on the trampoline, and I'm just saying, if you guys need a respite, you can come to my house, and you can use my trampoline. And if you need to, awaken this childhood dream, I'm here to provide the space in my backyard for you to do it. So that's what I'm celebrating this week, my trampoline. My name is Rebecca. For those of you who don't know me, I'm one of the pastors here, and I'm really glad that you're here. I'm glad you found yourself in the room. I'm convinced that God is faithful in his timing. He knows what he's doing, and for whatever reason, for such a time as this, he brought you into the room. I'm glad you're here. We've been in the book of Esther, and I love this story. We're wrapping it up today, which makes me sad, because I love teaching it. I love the storytelling piece of it. I love the arc, the narrative. And so it's going to be kind of a sad ending for me to say goodbye to this. But I am excited for what's coming next. I'm going to start teaching through the book of Nehemiah. And if you've not read that story, don't cheat. Don't get ahead. That's crazy town. Just, soak it in. No, I'm just kidding. You can read it if you want. I'm not going to tell you can't read the Bible. But that's where we're headed next, into the book of Nehemiah, and I'm looking forward to bringing that message to you. So if you haven't been here, let me give you Esther in a nutshell. Esther is a story about the Jewish people who are living in exile. They are in the Persian Empire under the rule of a powerful king. And Esther becomes queen. She is a young Jewish woman who keeps her identity and her faith hidden. She keeps it hidden from the king. She keeps it hidden from the royal officials. And there is one particular royal official. His name is Haman. He's the bad guy. He is our villain in the narrative. And he is fueled by hatred, and he's fueled by pride. And he ends up deciding, because of this hatred, he wants to kind of hatch a plan, and so he succeeds. He gets the king to approve a decree where every man, woman, and child in the Jewish faith can be executed, can be killed. And so that's kind of where we're sort of picking up our story, is that decree is still existing. Behind the scenes, there is so much happening in the story. There's courage, there is risk, there are all these coincidences in timing. God begins to reverse this story. And so we started to see the beginning of that reversal last week, which I get very excited about, God's beautiful way of reversing stories. And I don't know what kind of space you're in this morning, where you're at in your own story, but I am convinced that we are all existing in some movement of a story in which God is seeking to reverse the bad into good. This is the God that we serve. So let me pray for us, and then we're going to dive into the last books of Esther. God, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being a God who is faithful. I love that last song that we sang. I have seen you move. I've seen you move mountains, and I do believe that you'll do it again. And so, God, as we anchor into the last piece of this story, I pray you'd speak through me. I pray you would give me clarity of thought, clarity of speech. I pray you'd move in this space, that people would connect to your word in a way that may feel fresh and new, and that you would begin healing in so many spaces today. We love you so much. It's in Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so the evil villain, Haman, is gone, and we're pumped about it. Yeah, it's good news. Bad guy's fallen. In last week's message, we had talked about how Haman had built these gallows to kill Mordecai, and in a grand reversal, Haman was actually the one that ended up being hung on those gallows. And so it kind of feels like the story should be over. Like, it sort of feels like it should be resolved by now. But it doesn't, because that decree, that law that was issued, well, it's still out there. And in the Persian Empire, when the king says yes to a law, it cannot be undone, and it cannot be unwritten. And so the enemy is down, but the threat is still very much alive. And I think that this is one of the most honest parts of this story for me. This is personal for me, but also I know that you'll relate to it, because sometimes God moves. You can see his movement. You know he is doing a work, but your situation is still a mess. It's still a disaster. You're sort of still in the storm, if you will. It doesn't all just go away. Sometimes your prayer is answered. Yeah, that's wonderful, but the process isn't over. And sometimes, I feel like healing might begin in your story, but it's not complete yet, or there's this breakthrough, and it's magical and wonderful, and you've been waiting for this kind of breakthrough, but there's still these consequences that are unfolding in your story. Everything's not resolved. It's not clean, and that feels confusing for us, I think, because we expect that if God were to really show up in some powerful, miraculous way in our story, everything would go back to normal, or everything would just be great, and it would be easy, it would be fixed, but that is not what happens in the book of Esther. God doesn't erase the moment. He doesn't go back and rewrite your story. He doesn't go back and fix all of the things that you may have made mistakes in, or the shame that you carry, or those things cannot be undone. What God does is that he begins to change our own position within our story. And that's what's happening here, because Esther is no longer hidden in her identity. She's no longer this silent queen. She now has influence. And Mordecai is no longer sitting in grief and sitting in sackcloth and ashes and mourning. He's been elevated now to honor and to authority, and he's walking that out in the way that he's living his life. And the Jewish people, they're no longer powerless. Something has shifted. And so the situation has not disappeared. Your storm, you're still in it, but your place within that storm is altered, and it's shifting. So maybe that's where you are today. I know that's where I am in my story. You've seen God move. You know that he's done something. You can see that he is doing a new thing. But the situation that you're in is still pretty real. And there's still some ducks that aren't really in a row. It still feels heavy. It still feels unresolved. And it possibly feels really scary. Because storms are scary, no matter how old you get and how unafraid of the thunder you are. I think the temptation for us in this kind of space, if you're here in your story, is to think, well, maybe nothing actually changed. But that's not true. Something has changed. God is changing something. So you may still be in the same situation, but you are not the same person within your story. So I just want to suggest that perhaps God has already begun to rewrite your story, even if you're still standing in the middle of that storm. And so in our story, in the book of Esther, the first decree cannot be undone. The day that the Jewish people are meant to be annihilated, well, it's still coming. It's on the calendar. It's going to come to pass. The threat is still real. But in Esther chapter 8, something new happens. There's a second decree written. And this one changes everything, because here's what happens in the narrative. The king gives Mordecai the authority to create a new law, a new decree. Now, if you'll remember from the story, Haman is the one that established the first decree. And that decree was very clear about what was going to happen. All of the Jewish people, men, women, and children, were going to be allowed to be attacked, plundered, and destroyed. And this went out to the entire empire. But this new law that Mordecai is given authority to write goes out to all the Jewish people across the empire, and it says, you are allowed to defend yourself. You are allowed to stand your ground. You are given authority to fight back. You can fight to save your lives. So listen to how it's worded in the Bible. It says this: by these letters, the king allowed the Jews who were in every city to assemble and defend their lives, to destroy, to kill, and to annihilate any armed force of any people or province that might attack them, their children, and their women, and to plunder their goods. I don't want us to miss how significant this moment is in this story. God doesn't just remove the danger. He doesn't fix it all. He doesn't take away your storm that you are in. He gives people agency in the middle of it. He empowers people to move and defend what they need and what they want, and to protect themselves and their families. They are now invited to participate in their own deliverance from this storm. This is such a shift, because up until now they were in survival mode, yeah? They're hiding. They are grieving. They are fasting, and they are waiting, and they are begging, and they're pretty hopeless, and they are afraid. But now they're invited by law to stand and to fight for what they need and to fight to protect what they want. They are invited to step into what God has made possible in their story. And I have to wonder, because I think it's something that we do too, at least I know I do. I wonder how many of them are still living like that first decree is the only one that exists. I don't know if you guys do this. I do this all the time. I wish I was more, advanced in my faith journey in this way. But so many of us are still believing the old script of our stories, the one that lies to us and says, I will never get free from this. This is just how it's going to be. This pattern owns me. I am stuck here, and there's no way forward. This fear defines me. Yes, I can't be alone. and sometimes living in these old stories that I've brought to believe are true in my own life. But there is another word that's been spoken over our lives, collectively and individually. A better word, it's a true word, it's a holy, redemptive, life abundant is for you kind of word. Not the word of your past, not what was done to you, not what you have done. Those stories are old stories, and God invites you into something new. His mercies are new every morning. So the word says, the word that God is consistently speaking over us in every part of our lives, you are not who you were. Not the word, not as powerless as you were, or as you define yourself with these stories and these patterns. The old you does not define your future. You can start anew. You can turn the page. This is the gospel. It's an invitation to participate in the newness that God is offering for you. He says, and he speaks over us, that life abundant is for you. But how often we live like it's not for me. It's certainly for you. But that's not going to be my story because of what I've done, or because of what I've said, or because of the mess that I found myself in that I cannot seem to get out of. And I'm just going to resolve myself to stay in it. And God is constantly whispering, get out of it. Come into this new life, this new part of your story. You are not without options. Something has happened, I think, in the story of our lives, in the story of humanity. God didn't just tell us to think differently. God himself acted differently. He interrupted the pattern of brokenness. He stepped into our story. He broke this power of shame, this power of guilt, this power of sin, and he made a way for something new to be possible. That is the way of Jesus. And so now, because of what God has done, we get to fight back. We get to interrupt these patterns that we have sat down in the middle of and said, this is just how it's going to be. We can tell the truth now instead of believing a lie. We can set boundaries. We can ask for help. We can choose a different response, and not because it's easy. It's still messy. This decree still exists. It hasn't been erased. Not because you suddenly get stronger and you can find your grit and just push through and just you're going to make it. We don't fight through our storms. God changes us within them. So the lie is no longer the only voice that the people of God have in this story. They're not stuck in this old way of functioning. They're not waiting to die. They're not begging God to step in. He is giving them autonomy and agency within their storm to change the course of how it goes. It's like this new breath in the middle of the darkness. So the pattern that you have been in does not have to be your only path. You have the power through relationship with God to now step into it and break it. So this isn't about striving. This isn't about like try harder and do better. This is about recognizing that God has already gone before you. He has already prepared the way. He has already set the table. He's pulled up the seat. He has invited you to sit down. And like, will you? Will you step into newness, or will you stay in old patterns and old rhythms and drowning in this storm of old thinking? So back to Esther. The day comes. The day that they have been dreading, the day that they have been fearing, the day that was supposed to be their end. And Esther 9 does not skip over it. I mean, it is an uncomfortable read. There's still tension in the text. There's still conflict. There's still fight. You have to fight for it. Because just because God has spoken doesn't mean that you don't have to walk it out. That courage and that risk and that vulnerability and that bravery, that's your work. But he's provided the space for you to step into it if you're interested, if you're willing, if you want to change that storm. This time it's different. The people of God, they're not hiding. They do fight back. They're not helpless. They're not just waiting to be destroyed. And they stand their ground. And what was meant to completely take them out and destroy them, it doesn't. So instead, the exact opposite happens. The text says that this was the day where their sorrow was turned into joy. Their mourning was turned into dancing. In fact, they turned it into a holiday. And their grief became a celebration. It says, "This was the day on which the Jews gained relief from their enemies. And as the month that had been turned for them from sorrow into gladness and from mourning into a holiday, that they should make them days of feasting and gladness, days for sending gifts of food to one another and presents to the poor." So let's not rush past this piece, because this is the party. And you guys know I like to party. I like to throw parties. I like to go to parties. I like to be at a party, okay? If you're throwing one, you should invite me. I will be the life of the party. No, I like a good party, okay? So the day that they feared the most, you cannot miss this. You have a day that you are fearing the most in your own story, or you have been there and you can look back and say, I remember how afraid I was about this piece. I don't know what that is for you, but I know that we're humans and we have some really hard parts of our story. There is a day that you have feared the most, or one that is coming, and that is the day now that the Jewish people still remember forever. The day that they feared the most becomes the day that this changes, and they step out of this storm. The moment that was supposed to end their story, end their lives, becomes the moment that defines it. I think some of you know what it is like to stand in a moment that feels like the end. You're in a doctor's office and you get a diagnosis. You've experienced a betrayal of some sort. You have a divorce. There are parts of our story where we think, well, that's it. It's over. This is what I've done with my life. Everything feels really uncertain, and it feels really fragile, and it feels terrifying. And so I just want to gently remind you today, and I hope this is an encouragement to you in the middle of your storm. God has a way of meeting people in the middle of the places that they thought would destroy them. And he writes a different ending than they imagined. And he does this over and over and over again in your Bibles. In fact, you can go from the beginning and go to the end. And if you go reading through Scripture with that lens, God has this habit of meeting people in the midst of their darkest season and saying, I'm going to turn it around because this is who I am. I can redeem. I can reconcile. I can restore. This is my business, and I'm great at it. That is the whole arc of the entire Bible. I love it so much. I am for another chapter. I am for a new day. I am for every person to get to experience life abundance on the opposite side of the storm. But God always begins that work right in the middle of it. Right in the middle of it. Not always quickly, not always painlessly, but he does so faithfully. He's a faithful Redeemer. And Esther is one more reminder that what feels like the end of this story may actually become the place where God's faithfulness is remembered most clearly. Okay, so it's time for just maybe a little brief sidebar. You guys know who I am. I love a good side note, okay? Don't disregard these. They're important, okay? But it is a little bit of a sidebar. This is where the Jewish feast of Purim was born. Purim is a yearly celebration where the Jewish people gather together and they feast and they give gifts and they collect money and they give that money to charity and to the poor. And they gather together, and this is the way that they celebrate. They gather together and they read through the book of Esther. And they share this story. And if you've never experienced it, you should, because it's so fun. It's like the kids all have like responses to different parts of the narrative, and they act it out, and there's different just yells and shouts at different parts of the story. And it is a collective remembrance. It is an intentional choice to read through the book of Esther, to remember we almost didn't make it out. We almost didn't make it. But look what God did for us. They do this every year. An intentional remembrance This is not a surface level, everything is kind of fun, party, but it's a deep, emotional, and honest kind of joy that says we know what it's like to be afraid. We as a people know what it's like to be in the middle of this storm. We know what it's like to think that it's over, end game. And we know what it's like for God to bring us through anyway, despite what we felt, despite what we thought was our reality, despite not seeing a way out. I think some of us struggle right here because we've been through things, but we've never actually let ourselves celebrate and party, right? In remembering the work that God has done in our own stories. We just move on. We push forward. We keep going. It's almost like a, phew, okay, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought. And we move on. And I think we miss it. One, we miss the party, which is so lame. How do we keep doing that? And the thing is, I think God doesn't just bring people through something. He invites us to mark it. He invites us to name it, to celebrate it. Because there are moments in your story where you should be able to say, that should have taken me out. But it didn't. That should have been the end. But it wasn't. I can look back on my story and say, oh my gosh, I can see how many times I was like, there's no way forward. How is this going to work out? And look at me, 70,000 times of those, and it always works out. God is always preparing the way. He was always opening a new door for you. And so maybe for you, where you're at in your story right now, maybe the shift isn't about surviving anymore. Maybe your invitation this morning is to celebrate. Not because everything's perfect, not because everything's worked out, but because God is faithful and you're seeing it. You're recognizing his movement. You're recognizing the work that he's doing in your life. It's worth celebrating. It's worth delighting in. So here's the part I love the most. I think my favorite part about this holiday is that it's every single year. The Jewish people do this every single year. That is intentional marking. It's intentional celebration. We have got to be people that recognize what God does and then intentionally celebrate it consistently. It's an important piece of the narrative because you don't want your story, the things that God has done, to get lost over time. And I need this in my own life. And so here's how I began to establish this. When I was in seminary, I remember reading through the book of Esther and being like, that's so cool. I love this idea of intentionally marking what God has done. And so here's how I do that in my own life. I celebrate my half birthday. And this is not because I need more cake. Actually, I'm not a cake person. I'm a cheesecake person, if we're going to be honest, okay? I like cheese and I like cheesecake. But at one point in my life, during my early 20s, I was figuring out this faith thing. I grew up in a challenging home, and I acknowledged the fact that all I was doing in my life was surviving, one hard season after the other. And all of a sudden, I started to notice I was lacking gratitude. I was lacking hope. I was just getting through it. And one day, I was walking across this bridge from the dorms to campus. I was in the middle of this Hebrew lecture through the book of Esther, and I was thinking about this naming thing, and I stopped on this bridge, and I was taking a minute to talk to God, and it occurred to me that it was my half birthday. It was April 16th, and I was like, I'm going to start celebrating my half birthday. I'm going to have half a donut and half a cup of coffee, and I'm going to have half of everything all day. And that is how I celebrate my half birthday to this day. I just have half of all the things. So it's nothing fancy. But what I began to do is I began to intentionally take that day, April 16th every year, where I would say, God, what have you done in my life in the last 6 months that I can mark, I can name, and I can celebrate? It's intentional rhythm. And it's purposeful, and it's once a year. And it's private, but it's become communal, and it's become collective. If you're part of my world, you've probably experienced my half birthday on some level. In fact, this year on April 16th, I was teaching here at the church, and I walked in, and Aubrey, who preached a couple weeks ago, she brought me half a thing of French fries from McDonald's. And she said, happy half birthday, friend. And you guys, I'm not going to tell you that I didn't cry, because whatever, I cried. I love it so much when you're known, and people see you and they celebrate. And she said to me, "What are you? What are you grateful for? Where are we at?" And I love these things. So I want to encourage you to consider, if you don't build in moments to remember what God has done in your own story, you will absolutely forget. And I will just tell you, you will probably start to live as if God is not faithful to you. You will probably just not remember. I think this is why it matters so much in Esther. They're saying we're not going to move on with our story as if that didn't happen. We're not going to move forward. We're going to build this into our lives so we can acknowledge what God has done. Because if you don't intentionally remember what God has done in your life, you will unintentionally forget. And it is what it is. You just move on with life. You keep surviving. You move from one thing to the next. But if you intentionally take time to build in a rhythm to say, I want to be grateful for the work that God is doing in my life. I don't know what that looks like for you. Maybe you're a journaler, maybe you're a verbal processor like I am. Whatever that looks like for your processing, create something, write a poem, journal, read a book, something that's going to mark. I'm going to do this every single time so that you can remember. Esther 9 says that they established these days. It says the Jews established and accepted as a custom for themselves and their descendants and all who join them that without fail, they would continue to observe these 2 days every year as it was written and at the time appointed. And the Jewish people do this every February or March, depending on the calendar and where it lands. It is good. It is a good practice. I want to submit it to you to consider. Because year after year, generation after generation, they decided as a people, we will not forget what God has done for us. They understood this idea. And I'll say it again because it's so important. If you do not intentionally remember what God has done, you will unintentionally forget what he has done. And you will forget how desperate you felt in the middle of your storm. You will. You'll forget how afraid you were. You'll forget how impossible it seemed that there would be goodness on the other side of this place. And if you forget the depth of the fear, if you forget the depth of your desperation and your need and your longing and your aching, you will also forget the magnitude of God's faithfulness within it. And it matters to us. Because when you forget what God has done back there in your story, it becomes really hard to trust God with what he's doing right now in front of you. And so the Jewish people, they build a practice and they feast. They party. They gather together and they celebrate. And they laugh and then they're generous. And they give to the poor and they take care of their neighbors. And it's an outpouring. They make sure their joy spills over into generosity, and the world benefits every February and March from the goodness of the Jewish people celebrating that God has brought them through a storm. I think it's beautiful. I think real celebration in the kingdom of God is never just inward. It always moves outward. Everyone around you should feel your joy. Everyone around you should be experiencing that delight. And so I want to ask you, what are you going to remember? Not vaguely, not someday, but intentionally. Because I know you have stories. Some of yours I know very intimately, and so many of you send me emails, and I get to have coffee with you, and I get to hear the stories that you have. But you have real stories of God showing up in your life. Times that he has provided for you, times he has protected you, times he has carried you when you really didn't think you were going to make it, but you've never marked it. And maybe you've never really named it. You've never really built any kind of rhythm around remembering it. And slowly and subtly, we begin to live like maybe that just never really happened, or it wasn't as important as we thought it was at one point, or maybe we made it up a little bit in our minds, and he wasn't really that faithful to me. So, write it down. Tell your kids. Mark it in some way. Share it with a friend. Celebrate the anniversary. Mark the date. Not because you're trying to be dramatic. I'm not dramatic about my half birthday. I only eat half of everything. It's very less dramatic. But it's a marking. It's an intentional reminder throughout my day of look at what God has done. Look at what he's brought me through. Look at these prayers he's answered in my life. I think that some of you are probably living out answered prayers that you don't even remember that you prayed. because we're not in the habit of marking and naming and remembering. Gratitude fades in that place, really. And faith starts to shrink, and fear becomes louder in your head and in your story when you're not in an intentional rhythm of remembering and naming and marking. So the invitation isn't always just to move forward and trust that God has prepared the way outside of the storm. Sometimes it's to look back and to honor what he's done and to reflect that gratitude back to God and then let it spill out into relationship with others. Because what God has done in your life is so worth remembering, and it's so easy for us to forget, right? And when you remember well, you will trust him with what is coming before you. And that I can say with lived experience. Marking and intentionally giving God this gratitude and this remembering what he's done for me has given me a peace and trusting him for what's ahead. Less worry, less anxiety, less fear, more risk, more freedom, life abundant because of these choices to remember. So this is where the whole story has been heading in the book of Esther. Not just survival, not just getting through, but real transformation in the lives of these people. In Esther's story, in Mordecai's story, in the Jewish people's story. Because the story of Esther doesn't end with like, they made it, you know? It actually ends with, they celebrated. They threw a party. And then they're going to do that every single year for the rest of eternity. And what I love about our God is that he doesn't just bring his people out of storms. He brings them into something new. And it's always better. It's always better. The next iteration is always good news. He is always improving and redeeming and reconciling. I mean, the very thing that threatened these people becomes the thing that they now testify about. The thing that they feared the most is now the thing that they celebrate every year with joy and delight and probably glow sticks. And I love it. We love to hear it. It's lovely. So, this is the movement of the kingdom of heaven, from fear to feast to a party. And we forget this is how God always wanted it. He always was inviting you into something good, into something new. Because God never just rescues people from something. He rescues people and then moves them into something good, something holy. This is what I like to call table theology. You guys know I love it. God delivers Israel from slavery, and then he sets this table in the wilderness, and every day he invites them to sit, and he provides for them. It's a lovely story of God constantly setting tables. Jesus restores people, and then he sits with them on the beach, and he eats with them. The Bible is full of these table moments of God moving people from fear into feast, from just a horrible storm into rest and respite, care. The kingdom of God continually looks like tables throughout the narrative, like meals, like celebration, like people who once lived in fear finally learning to realize they can breathe again, and they can hope again, and they can live freely again, and they learn how to receive. That's because he's constantly and generously and always setting the table. Some of us, I think, in the room know how to survive. We've gotten really good at it. You've been through some hard things, and it's like a little bit of a badge of honor. Like, I got this, and I can do this with a good attitude, and I can survive all these things, and it's great. But we don't know how to sit at the table and feast, and we don't know how to receive, and we don't know how to rest. We know how to brace. We know how to endure. We know how to stay guarded. But receiving joy and receiving goodness, forget about it. It feels vulnerable. It feels risky, and yet God continually sets the table, and he pulls out a chair, and he says, well, how about today? Today, can you try receiving what I have for you? It's so good. Are you interested? Listen, God sets tables not because he's ignoring the fact that life is hard. He's not setting tables because he thinks that if you take a seat, all of your enemies will disappear and everything will magically work out. He wants people to know, I'm setting tables because fear is not going to get the final word. It's not the last seat at your table. And when you're in the storm and when you're looking at it and you don't see a way out of it, you assume this is it. There's nothing beyond this storm. And God is consistently trying to communicate, no, I have a better seat at this table for you, and I've been preparing it for you. You have to trust me through this storm. We're going to get through the other side. I'm faithful to do it. I'm proving it to you over and over and over again. Remember it. Remember what I've done for you so that you can take the proper seat at the table I've prepared for you. So every single person in this room is somewhere within this movement. And as the worship team comes, I want you to consider where you are. Some of you are still in fear. You're in the middle of it. It's heavy. It's uncertain. It's unclear. You don't like it. It feels unresolved. There's too many loose ends. It's uncomfortable. And if that's you, and I hope you hear me, just because you're not at the feast yet does not mean that God is not working in the middle of it. He is preparing a table. He is getting it ready. He is rolling out this red carpet of goodness. It's going to be wonderful. Some of you are in the fight, right? You have seen God move, but you still have to stand your ground. You still have to fight for what you need. You have to fight for where you want to be. You still have work to do. You're in the fight. You're working out the details. You still have to choose truth. You still have to walk it out, and that matters. And I think for some of you, if you're being honest, you've made it through. God has already brought you through this storm, and you know it. It's brought you out of something, but you're still living like you're back there. You're still bracing. You're still holding your breath. You're still expecting it to fall apart, still carrying fear from a season that God has already delivered you from. He was faithful to do it then. He is faithful to do it now, and he will do it again. He will turn it around. It is the way of God. He is faithful every step of it. And so maybe today, I'm just going to submit that God is asking you to join him in the feast, to celebrate and to delight, to stop saying, I survived that, and start saying something like, look at what God has done, and look at the freedom that I'm walking out, and the life that I'm living, and the goodness I'm experiencing, and it's just that. It's just good. It's just gratitude. And we need more celebrators. We need to hear your voice if you're sitting at that table. You provide a hope, a light, a pathway for people to say, I'm going to get to that seat. I'm not there yet, but I'm moving towards it, and I'm trusting it's for me, and I believe that it's for me because God loves me, and he's doing a work in my life. Your story matters. Not just the pain, not just the hard things, but the reversal of your story. You are in it. God is faithful to reverse it. He's always doing it. It's like a show-off party trick that he does. Like, look what I can do that no one else can do. Let's throw a party and celebrate this reversal. So where has God reversed something in your life? And what would it look like for you to remember it and to celebrate it? And to do that with an intentional rhythm. Mark it, name it. Let's not just be people who survive. That's not good news. What are we inviting people into if we just know how to survive? We know how to endure. We know how to brace ourselves. Let's be people that come to the table that we have been invited to, and we take a seat and we feast. Would you stand and worship?
Search the world, it couldn't fill me. Man's empty praise and treasures of greed are never enough. And you came along and put me back together. Desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's God of the mountains. He's the God of the valley. There's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. Come on, get into this next part. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Okay, hello. I have a couple announcements for you. One, camp's coming up. Yeah, I love a good youth camp. You guys gave my life to Jesus at youth camp, so it holds a special place in my heart. If you want to know more information, you can scan that QR code. It's for exiting sixth graders to seniors in high school. So I want to encourage you to get information on that. Let's get you registered by the end of the month so we know how many people to have as counselors. We also have a meeting right after church today that I'm leading. Are you guys excited? My brain is like totally there. We're going to do a volunteer meeting. If you want to be able to help, we've had some changes in our staff, and so we're looking to mobilize volunteers. If you're interested to learn where you can volunteer, how to help coordinate, mobilize,
come to that meeting. We're just going to meet out here in the cafe. We'll have like porta subs, and we'll just have a casual conversation about what the needs are in this ministry. So I want to invite you to that. At the end of service on May 31st, we'll do another family meeting, and we'll update you on all the family matters at the Rock at that meeting, okay? So prepare your heart for that day. I hope everybody can make it after service on the 31st. But today's volunteer meeting. There are a couple ways to give financially if you want to support the ministry here at the Rock. Those are going to be up on the screen for you. And then back in this corner here, we have prayer and communion. If you would like somebody to pray for you, we have an amazing team. They love praying. They love caring for you. They love hearing your story and holding space for what you need. And they will take care of you beautifully. And so if you need that, please go check that out. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.